Okay, everybody, hello and welcome to the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are in this beautiful world. And hopefully it's been a good one for you. It's been a good one for us. Having a good day. And now we're live on Spreaker as well. We're live with our friends there on TikTok as well. We've been friends with TikTok for a while. So we've been hanging out beforehand. It's monitor. What is it? So anyway. Yeah, hello everybody. Hello. Welcome to the presentation. Thanks guys for being here. Happy Friday to you. Wherever you are in this world, hopefully you're having a good Friday. It's a good day. Hopefully you're having something fun for this weekend. Oh, you're sad. No. You can't be sad. This is a no sad zone. This is a no sad zone place because this is Friday. This is Friday, everybody. So listen, happy Friday to you. Seriously, happy Friday to all you guys. And it is Paranormal Fridays. As you guys know, this is what we do on every single Paranormal Friday. We talk paranormal. This is how we have a good time and we just chill. But before we get into our fun-filled, exciting present, and I'm telling you guys, this is going to be a fun show. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm going to tell you why. Why? Because we're going to have in just a second my buddy and your friend, Willie Windwalker Gibson. He's going to jump on with us as a special guest this evening. We love having him on. He's always willing to do so. So, we might just have him on a little bit more because everybody loves Willie. And that's wonderful. And then we appreciate that. And we'll get his update on Shaman as well, his wife. And so, but yeah, Willie's great. And so tonight we're going to talk about our own demonic cases. And the dangers that we have encountered with them. And Willie is going to share about how he, of course, went about, having the cases and what was his procedure as far as working them. And so you'll be learning from the perspective of a shaman, which I think is wonderful. I think that's really cool about this show is because we have friends from all walks of life. And I think that's important because you get to hear from different perspectives. And that is necessary. This stupid monitor. So I think that's important. I do. And we appreciate Willie, jumping on. But before we do, let me give you the business aspect of the show. All right. I want you to go to a wonderful website. And I am so happy and honored to be a part of the KGRADB family. So this is where you need to go to, folks. If you love the paranormal like I do, and you are unapologetically a fan of the paranormal like I am, then you got to go to this website, KGRAD as in dog, B as in bicycle.com. Now, they are the producers of the show. So I use their program to air all of my shows, which is the Sunday Bible study, the Friday night paranormal, the Saturday night open mic. And so we appreciate them. And they have some amazing shows on that website. Make sure you put Bishop. When you subscribe to the channel. It's very inexpensive. And you're going to get a tremendous amount of paranormal shows that are quality shows. And I am honored that this show airs on that platform as well. Now, but don't forget to put Bishop as your promo code. You're going to get 30% off your subscription. So why not? Take advantage of it. And before anybody says anything, I do not receive any compensation for you putting Bishop as your promo code. I do that because I feel I'm honored to be a part of this platform of KGRADB, and I told them I don't want any compensation. So the 30% off is just because you guys follow this platform. So go to KGRADB.com. Put Bishop as your promo code. And you're going to love those shows. I promise you, you really will. Next, if you want to go to my website, it's very simple. It's bishopjameslong, LONG.com. Bishopjameslong, LONG.com. Now, here's the cool thing about this. I do have online classes. And the classes are demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. Well, folks, let me tell you something. I'm giving these classes to you for absolutely free of charge. Free of charge. It's a gift from me to you It took a long time to put these classes together. They are in-depth classes, and it's 100% online. You learn at your own pace, which is the beautiful thing about it. And after you take tests and quizzes, you get certificates as well. It's all free, guys. I just want to do that for you guys. So there we are. Now, we'll talk about that, Levi, in just a second. So I appreciate you guys. So please take advantage of that. And that would be wonderful. And also, if you want to go to the church's website is usocc.org. So if you want to know more about us, usocc.org. Tonight, by the way, we have night prayer, as we do Monday through Friday, every Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be airing, by the way, we just started this on Wednesday. I will be airing night prayer live on TikTok as well. So, because a lot of people can't get into Spreaker because it's a little difficult sometimes to get into Spreaker, and I get it. So Spreaker is just audio. So if you want to join us, here's what you can do. 2 ways. usocc.org, scroll all the way down to where it says night prayer, click the picture, it takes you to Spreaker. If you want to chat, usocc.org, scroll all the way down, it gives you instructions on how you can chat for night prayer. Easy. But if you don't want to go on Spreaker, you can watch it here on TikTok. We start TikTok around 9:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we start promptly at 10 p.m. Eastern. And Judy Ann will be praying with me this evening. So Monday through Friday, we have night prayer. And it's, again, it's what we try to do for you guys to give back to the community. And there we go. Someone was asking, now, folks, this, by the way, this is Paranormal Friday. And a lot of people wait for Friday for this time because it's paranormal. On Sundays and Wednesdays, I don't entertain the paranormal questions because it's Bible study. Every Sunday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Bible study, and you can watch it right here on my TikTok or on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, whatever. And then, of course, tomorrow we have open mic night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Judy Ann, Miss Wilma, and I, we goof off, have a good time, and then I talk about demonology or any paranormal questions. There you go. So it's a lot of information, but people keep asking me about my schedule, and I've posted it many times everywhere. Sunday, Wednesday, Bible study, 8 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m. Paranormal Friday, and tomorrow is open mic night. So we're busy. We're busy, but we enjoy it. So that is, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Now, TikTok, let me just say this. If you guys offer gifts to the ministry and I don't say thank you, I promise you it's not because I'm being rude. It's only because I have 2 computers running at the same time, and sometimes I don't see them. So if you offer gifts and I don't see them, first of all, thank you for the gifts. Thank you. And subscribing, and moderators, thank you guys for being here as well. Yep. And one more thing, and then we're going to be getting into the presentation. I'm going to be at the Arkansas Paranormal Expo this month. Now, I've only done 2 conferences this entire year, just 2. And this is the last one that I'm scheduled for. So if you want to come on over and meet me and say howdy, and I can meet you, and we can just talk about life or paranormal, whatever it is that you want to talk about, it's at the Arkansas Paranormal Expo. So it's arkansasparanormalexpo.com. That's the website. And I love it because it is it's a fundraiser for the MacArthur Military Museum in Little Rock, Arkansas. And it's going to be in the October 26th and 27th. So there you go, guys. I will be giving a presentation. Thank you there. I'll have several items with me as well, haunted items. So I'll be bringing that with me. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. And hopefully you can make it. That would be wonderful. And let me know. So, I saw you on TikTok, and I will be running on TikTok during that weekend, by the way. Okay. Okay. So let me ask one theology question, and then we're going to move on. Someone is asking Jesus about, Jesus said, don't call anyone else on Father, etc. He was talking to the Pharisees, because the Pharisees, they were just individuals who were arrogant, who liked titles, who liked power, and they were referring to them. The people called Jesus rabbi. So Jesus most certainly called Joseph father, Abba. So Jesus was not referring to, you can't ever call someone father or rabbi. He was speaking to the Pharisees. because the Pharisees loved to go around saying, look at how holy and wonderful I am, and they loved all the titles. So that's why Jesus was saying that. But Jesus, most certainly, many people called him rabbi, and he didn't rebuke them. So hopefully that answers your question. And one more time, folks, on TikTok, I'm going to put subscriber chat only on for the first hour. And that's because we just don't tolerate trolls here. Okay, and then I'll open it up for everybody around 8 p.m. or so, and we'll go from there. Tonight, everybody, I've had this gentleman on the presentation, the show, several times. He is a friend of mine. His wife is a friend of mine. I've known him for actually a long time. And he's a good guy. He's a good person. And it's Willie Windwalker Gibson. So Willie Windwalker Gibson, for those of you who don't know, he was born in Louisville, Kentucky on July the 7th, 1955. His father, Robert, was a Native American Cherokee. His mom, Opal, was Irish. And up until the age of 10 years old, he was raised, not so much with the Native American heritage or information, and until one day his father told him that he was Cherokee. And he thought, great. And so he had found a new sort of identity. And one day in 1965, he found himself in a pretty strange predicament. He was playing in his yard when he saw a star appear. And he watched it get bigger and bigger until it was over him. And it looked like an upside down bowl with a light under it. And there was a flash of light when the thing was gone, and it was darker. And when he checked the time, he had lost several hours. And after that, he began to see and hear things that others could not. And he also found himself being taught by a shaman, by his ancestors, and beginning his life as known as Shaman Windwalker. So, with Willie and I, certainly is something that we share, the similarities, is that I'm also Cherokee. My grandmother was full Cherokee. My grandfather was Cherokee. And so it's a nice to be able to have a fellow friend. So yeah, Willie is awesome. So let's bring Willie on. Hello there, Willie Windwalker Gibson. How are you and Shaman doing this evening?
We're doing okay, James.
Good. How's life been treating you? What's been going on with you? I know Shaman's been dealing with some sickness. So can you give everybody an update on her health and how's she doing?
Well, as you know, back in June, she lost her right leg, and then the following month, she broke her other hip. So we've been dealing with that. But she's coming along. She's getting stronger, and we're dealing with a little bit of things with her liver right now. But I think everything's going to be okay. I mean, each day she's getting stronger, and she's going to be okay. It's just going to be, we had a life-changing experience. We just have to do things differently now, but we're doing okay.
Good. And that's what I tell you, you guys are fighters. And Shaman has a very deep love of Christ in her heart. And one thing that maybe one day we'll have to do this. We'll have to bring Shaman on, and she sings just beautiful songs. There was one particular song, I forgot the name of it. I can't remember. I was over there when I went to your house and I blessed the home, and she was singing that song. And I thought, that sounds like a professional hymn. I mean, it really sounds like a beautiful professional hymn. So maybe one day we'll have to play that. But I tell you what, she loves singing, she writing, and hopefully maybe one day we can have her on and she can sing for a little bit. Not to put her on the spot, but I think that would be beautiful.
She'll be glad to do it.
Okay, great, fantastic. Now, Willie,
Thank you.
What's that? What's that?
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Shaman. Yeah, we'll have to get her on next time, Willie. Next time you come on, we'll have to put some time aside and have her sing her beautiful songs. I think that would be wonderful. Tonight, guys, we're going to talk about a topic that is serious, and it is a topic that a lot of people are frightened about, and some people become obsessed with it. We're talking about demonology and the cases that Willie and I have worked. So what we're going to do tonight is talk to you a little bit about some of the cases that we have worked, and some of the cases, what we took away from them, how we worked them. So when it approached us, what did we do? What did we experience? Because I think it's important for you guys to see what goes on behind the scenes, but also see what is reality and what is a myth, because there's a lot of people confused about that. Willie, did you know, before we do this, did you know that on TikTok, and I'm not going to tell people the name, there is a person on TikTok that the title of his show, and he's serious about this. He says, if you want a demon, he'll do this chant, and he believes he can send you a demon electronically. And people actually go onto his TikTok and say, yes, I want a demon. He says, what demon do you want? I want whatever demon they name. And so he tries to summon this particular demon by chanting, by doing whatever it might be, and then sending that energy to that person. Can you believe this?
I think that, well, you wanted to get into cases, James. So that's a segue into one of my cases I had.
Well, let's get into it. Tell us about it.
Well, I am guest on a lot of shows, and I was guest on a show way back a long time ago, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And the host was having problems in the house. And he thought that he had a demonic entity in there, and he wanted to know if I can, go out of body house and see if I can see what was going on. Well, right away, I could feel this thing around him in the house, and it wasn't nice. It was awful. And I told him what was going on. He said, Willie, what do I need to do? So I told him what to do, and this entity actually came through the radio and actually started messing around with me in my house. So I had to do a clearing in my house, and what had happened is this thing traveled through the airways into my house. So it can be done. But if you want to do this purposely, it's kind of crazy. It really is. I mean, people do not understand. This is stuff you don't play around with. The demons wait for an idiot like that to give them free reign to come and do all kinds of stuff. And you watch stuff on TV, and I'm going to go get this demon in this house, and I'm going to hunt it down, and I'm going to kick its butt. You know what? I just look at that, and I just shake my head, because they do not really want to tangle with them. If these people tangled with a real demon, that if to be on TV and you can see what a demon can really do, you're going to see somebody get killed on TV one of these days. And I wonder if they'll televise that. But they play around with stuff that they don't need to be playing around with. I mean, you and me have felt this energy, and this energy has attacked us, Lord of mercy, has it ever. And we'll get around to that later on down the line. But no, you don't want to do that. And that's one of my cases. A demon actually came through the radio, and I had to deal with it in my house. Then I had to get rid of it out of my house, because it traveled from his house to my house.
See, and that's the thing, folks. You have to understand any type, no matter if it's electronic or if it's a Ouija board or anything that you use to communicate with the spirit realm, they can manipulate that whatever that device is for attachments, demonic attack. So I think people forget that. And when people watch something on TikTok and they watch this guy saying, oh yeah, I'm going to send you a demon, it's all about the intent. You open yourself up to receiving this demonic attachment. So it's not hocus pocus. It's not magic, folks. It is all about opening yourself up to receiving that energy. And that's where the danger comes in.
James, before we got on here, I went through I did smoke, and I did holy water. I've got our necklaces on that you gave us. Mm-hmm. I'm prepared, because I don't know what tries to come through.
Sure.
The radio.
Sure.
So I'm protected now. I've got my barriers up and all that, and I'm telling people, even the subject matter tonight we're talking about, that could draw demons. So I got all my barriers up.
And so, and let me just say, and let me say something very, because I think it's important. There are a lot of people asking, especially now because it's Halloween. They say, is watching a scary movie going to cause you to become possessed? No, folks. No, no, no. That's not what Willie is saying. No, absolutely not. Because if that was the case, then probably 99% of the world would become possessed. Because most of us, or at least the majority of us, have watched a scary movie at one time in our lives. So this idea that, oh yeah, you watch a scary movie, you're going to become possessed, I think that goes too far. And Willie is not saying that. What Willie is saying is that when you start opening yourself up, like Willie does, to go and work a case, yeah, that's dangerous. That could absolutely be dangerous. One thing we never want to do, we never want to frighten everybody thinking that demons are just right around the corner, ready to attack you at every single thing, every single moment you buy a pack of cigarettes. All the demons going to get you. Or you go buy I don't know, wine coolers for the weekend just to relax. All the demons going to get you. You know, it's kind of like we don't. People who go to the extreme drive me crazy because they think everything that you do, you're going to be attacked by a demon, and that's one thing that Willie and I do not believe in. Because it's like as people think sometimes everything is a demon. That is simply not true. Not true. And I think when everybody starts saying everything is a demon, well, they lose credibility. They truly do, because then Willie knows this, and so do I. If you work cases, everything is not a demon. And we'll talk about the differences here in just a second. But first, Willie, let me ask you a question. And for those of you who are just joining us, I appreciate you. Remember, I have many chat rooms open at this time. So if I don't say to you individually hello or something, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's because we're doing a show. And you understand. And also, I have two different computers running at the same time. So here, and a lot of chats. So if again, for those of you on TikTok, if you offer gifts, thank you very much. So I just want to give you a heads up. And I'll open it up to chat for everybody in about less than an hour or so on TikTok. So Willie, can you explain from your perspective what demonic possession means from a shamanic perspective?
Well, when I was taking my training, James, my training was a lot different from yours. I mean, you had the seminary and all that. I had an elder here and there telling me what to do, how to do things, and what to expect. And the negative spirits or bad spirits is what they're called. Of course, we work with a great spirit, which is God. You know, people realize they say shamans are bad and all that. We work close with the great spirit God. So, and we work with our spirit guides. So when we're taught about bad energy or bad entities or evil spirits, that's what the language is. And we're told that these evil spirits can go into a person and possess them, and they can do weird things, and sometimes they even kill people. So we're trained in a different type of way. It's the negative spirit or bad spirit, and we work with the great spirit to help get that spirit out of the person. And our ways of one thing is we use the elements: earth, wind, fire, and water. When we usually do that the Native American way. Now I've had to train myself how to do it in a more Christian type of way. Mm-hmm. So I blend both of them together, because I've had run into things where I've had to use holy water and smoke, and I've had to use salt for protection circles, and I've had to use certain other things to ward off spirits, and it's all about having the spiritual strength, the spiritual knowledge to ward off an evil spirit. Now, in my past that, especially recently, a shaman can be wore down. If a shaman's mind ain't on what they're doing, that evil spirit can come in and take over. And
we'll talk about your experience in just a second, because we're going to get there, because I definitely want to share that with everybody, because if you missed that, and you're right, that's one thing that I think people need to understand, is that shamans, folks, people think, I don't understand why this belief that shamans and Native Americans are these anti-Christian folks. My grandmother was a shaman, and she was not anti-Christian. So
I've had people get mad at me because I won't put a curse on somebody or I won't kill somebody. I had a woman actually wanted me to kill her husband.
no. We have to say unalive. We have to say unalive. We can't say the K word on TikTok. Yeah.
She wanted, how about this? Wanted me to harm her husband.
Wow.
And I told him, I don't do anything like that. People have this, what they see on TV, they think shamans are really negative. Well, it's about intent too. You've got good shamans and bad shamans. Yeah, I was trained to be a good shaman. Now, I've also met bad shamans. It's all about how they use their talent and their abilities from God. And I've had to go against other shamans. And I've had to go against black witches, but I've also worked with good witches.
And that really, and that's it. That's with anybody though. That's you have quite honestly good people and bad people. You have good, with any.
It's all about intent. It's all about intent, James, and what you do. I mean, you could take a spoon and use it for a bad intent.
Sure.
It depends. You can put energy on something to make it negative. I've ran into things that, that's actually made me sick to my stomach, and it's just a piece of furniture or a piece of jewelry. So it's just about that. I mean, I have, I asked you about a case, about a case I had that could a demon jump from an apartment, from apartment to apartment? Because I've sent a lot of things are going on around here, and I thought what happened to me might cause things to happen to other people in the other apartments. Because I had a case one time, my very first case I went out with, my very first group that came and got me in Shaman and took me to this apartment house where they had already done the investigation. He said, Willie, something ain't right here. These women are being burned. They're being scratched. Things are, been thrown around. They said, we think we need you. So, well, they took me to this apartment complex, which I ain't going to tell you where it's at.
Right.
And they had it set up like Zach Bagan's outfit. They had a control room. They had all kinds of, monitors and stuff in each room and stuff. And I had never seen anything like that before because it was my first case with a group. And they said, well, we're going to have you on camera and we want you to walk through these rooms and tell me what you think. Well, I started walking through the rooms and I felt this energy, and I get back to this back bedroom. Of course, there's a portal there, and there was this entity there, and it was laughing at me and saying cuss words and all this stuff. But I also felt other energy there. So I walked on through the house, and there was several spirits of children in this apartment. And I walked back and I talked to a shoe, and I said, well, there's something negative right there, and it's holding these kids here. And I went back and told the leader of the group, and there's 5 or 6 of them, and they were, everything was being filmed for their it wasn't a television show, but their evidence. So
right. I
told them what was going on. So I went back and challenged this entity there. Well, it kept hollering a name. At the time, I didn't know it was a demonic name. It's, I won't mention it on here because we know they don't say demonic names on the radio, but it started with an A. Mm-hmm. And this thing, and I would look back and forth. I thought it was a punk. I thought it was a demon that, was really, just saying it was a demon, but actually it was. And, I did my thing. I did the ceremony and everything, and I got it cleared out. Now I'm not like a priest like you are. I didn't do an exorcism. I just drove it out of the place and it left, but the children were still there. And I said, since this thing is gone, we can make these children go on to the light. So I gathered everybody around in the living room, including the people that lived there, and the team was there. And Shimon and me was there. I said, now we're going to do a release of these children. We're going to cross them over. So we made a circle, and I lit a candle, put it in the circle. We all made a circle around the candle, and I told the kids, I did a blessing, and I told the kids to walk towards the light. We cleared the kids and crossed them over. So that entity left. Now, James, here's the kicker. A couple of years down the line, I had another case went in, they said, we got a demon, okay, I'll go in and check it out. Well, I walked through the place, and sure enough, that same thing was there, and it was laughing at me. And I knew it was the same thing. He said, and it called me holy man. Holy man, I'm here again. Ha, 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 and all this kind of stuff, called me names and stuff again. So I went through the same clearing ceremony and cleared it out. And I did not do an exorcism on it. It wasn't in somebody. It was like a minor rites, but a Native American way. Mm-hmm. So it was gone. James, a few years down the road, I had another case. Sure enough, the thing was there.
Wow.
The same entity, the same name, everything. I always thought, that if a person was possessed and we can get the entity to tell us its name, we can get it out. With this thing was in the house, and that people don't realize there's a difference between it being in somebody and in the house.
Yeah.
It's infestation. This wasn't a full possession. I was dealing with the house and what it was doing to the people in the house. So my stuff was mainly at that time doing clearings. It wasn't until recently, and I was running into things where people were this entity was in transition. I think way back when, 20 some odd years ago, this thing latched onto me, and it stayed its distance from me until it had the right time to attack me. So what I'm asking you is, was it possible to run into the same entity in several different cases?
100%. And actually, it's interesting you say this, because you had said the kids that had passed on, and that you were leading them to the light. Let me just let me give you my perspective as clergy, as Catholic, as a Catholic exorcist. In every case that I've worked, in every single case over 2 decades, when it deals with children that have passed on, it was demonic. Every single one, every one. Because from a theological perspective, if a child passes away, I do not believe God would allow that child or any type of evil to force that to force a child to not be able to, obviously pursue heaven. Certainly, because God supersedes any type of evil, and I don't think God would allow any type of evil to not allow a child to move forward into heaven. So for me, I have found that when you're dealing with cases where there are children involved, children that are human spirits. Now, and again, I'm not implying all of them, because I have not worked all of them, but in all of my cases, it was always demonic, always. And because a demon trying to trap a child from continuing on to heaven, I don't think God would allow that. I think God would say, no, we're not doing that. We're not playing that game. But humans, people who are at the age of reason, I think heaven is presented to us. It's not forced upon us, because we still have free will in heaven, because we know angels freely fell. So therefore, free will must exist in heaven. So if free will exists in heaven, it also must exist when you make the transition. It doesn't just stop. And so heaven is presented, and you can move forward, and you can stay for a variety. If you stay for whatever reason it might be, we just simply don't know. But it's because I worked a case one time where a mom, she did some things that she shouldn't have done when she was a teenager, past the age of reason, which is 12. And, play Ouija boards, and she get into black magic, some heavy stuff. She didn't really think about it much, later on in life. But she then had a child. And this child, a little boy, kicked the ball out in the street. And he went out, obviously, to retrieve the ball, and unfortunately was hit by a car. He passed from the injury. She was distraught, very distraught, and understandably so. And this was about 10 years later, 15 years later, after she was played with the Ouija board and stuff. But like 2 days later, it switched. Everything switched. She was happy. She was joyful. She would sing the same lullaby that she was singing to the kid when he was alive. She was so happy. She was always in his room talking, and her family was very concerned about that because originally they thought that she was having a mental breakdown, which I get it. But there was also paranormal activity occurring in the home. They never had paranormal activity prior to this, and it was violent. It was getting aggressive. So the family contacted me, and we went in there with the team, and we investigated. We got some heavy EVP, which stands for electronic voice phenomena. Got a lot of growls and things. But she was in the room, in the little boy's room, and she was talking, and she was laughing, and I opened the door just a little bit. She couldn't see or hear me, and I took a picture because I wanted to see, because she looked like she was holding something, just like she was holding something on his bed, and she was looking at, just laughing and having. Now the family won't let me release the picture, so I'm not going to do it without their permission. It is a full body apparition of her son, or what appeared to be her son. It was full. I mean, you can see the whole entire. You clearly see it was the same clothes that he was wearing on the day that he passed. And I began to provoke because I knew something wasn't right, and provoking through prayer. And once I started doing the rosary and praying the litany of the saints, the activity became really violent in the home. The manifestation, this full body manifestation, disappeared. And her whole entire demeanor changed. She was no longer happy. She was aggressive. She was angry. She was mad, furious. And I began to pray. And so we had to work with her because she had already lost her child once. And now she has to lose her child again, or what she think was her child. It was not. That was the demonic that was causing the invitation for her to continue to communicate with this thing. And thankfully, she had a demonic attachment. We removed the attachment, but through therapy, through counseling, a lot of counseling, she was able to finally get past that grief stage. But that's what a demon doesn't want you to do. A demon doesn't want you to get past that grieving stage. They want to keep you there. And so that's exactly what they did to her. So, 10 years later, 15 years later, when she did some things she shouldn't have done, she never even thought about it. And then at her most vulnerable moment, that's when the demon says, "Oh, by the way, you gave me that invitation. Now I'm going to accept it." That was one of the hardest cases that I had to work emotionally. Because
James, do you think that the children that we passed over was held there by the entity? That's what I originally thought. Or do you think they were also demonic?
I think it was a false perception of human spirits that the demon. That's my perspective. That it was false perception, so that you can move into that universe, that energy. It's like a trick. I believe the demons will use every form of trickery they possibly can. And obviously you did it with the soul and purpose to help and to love and show compassion and to help these beings that you feel that are lost. And demons will often manipulate and use every form of manipulation they can, every form. And that's just my perspective, especially when it comes to kids. Some people may disagree, but I have found every single time there was a case involved where there was a human spirit, where there was a child before the age of reason, every case was demonic. Everyone.
Well, do you think by us doing the prayers and the circles that we sent these probably demons now onto other apartments in the place, or that's why I asked you, but do you think they can jump from place to place in the same building? No question. No question. It's almost like a demon putting a little thing right before a cat, a little toy, and moving it up and down, or like one of those laser things and moving it around. The cat's kind of trying to chase it and try to grab it. And ultimately it's all a facade. It's all a facade to trick you. So that's my perspective, especially when it comes, and again, I'm open-minded, but I have never worked a case where a child was involved, child spirit was involved, and it was a child spirit. I've never worked that case where it's a true, legitimate child spirit. Everyone was demonic. Every one of them. Everyone. Well, as far as I know, there was that apartment was cleared that night, and I don't know if they were called. I know the person, that had the paranormal team, and I don't think they were ever called back there for other apartments. So I don't know what exactly happened, but I do know that was managed to get rid of the energy from that apartment. So I guess you could say I did my job.
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing with us, Willie, with the warriors like us. Demons will play completely unfair. They will use and manipulate see, we have good intentions. We want to help. We want to fix it. We want to make these things go away so that people can live in peace and harmony, and they're not being, because we find it appalling what they do. And they will use every way to manipulate, to hurt us, to draw us into it, to become so obsessed with a case that we begin thinking that, you know what, maybe I should just quit. I can't fix this. That's happened to me. That happened to me in an incubus case where I actually was very close to walking away from, because I couldn't fix it. And I worked with this person for 3 years. For 3 years, I just I can't fix it. Something must be wrong with me. And maybe I'm not holy enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not whatever. I'm not enough. Because that's what the demons were telling me. You're not enough. You're not going to do anything. You're not enough. You can't handle this. And yeah, I was really close to walking away completely from ministry. Have you ever had a case, Wilma? Well, listen, Wilma, I'll talk to her about this tomorrow. But I have had work with Wilma, by the way, with her little house, because she clearly thinks her house is haunted. We'll talk about that later. But have you ever had a case where it almost made you just quit? You just said, I can't do this anymore, because you question your gifts, you question your ability to help this person resolve a case. Have you ever had that situation?
James, I don't know if I think I've told you this story before. Well, I was attacked by succubus, and the reason I was attacked, I went into this house, a friend of my wife's house, and we also worked at the same place, and she said, well, I think my house is haunted, could you come by? And so I went in, and I went into the house and went upstairs, and I actually, one of the kids told me that they had a friend that lived up on the third floor. Would I like to meet their friend? So I just went out to meet the friend, and when I walked into this room, it was completely empty, and there was a thing that was there. I could see it. It was horrible. It looked like a woman that was that had been in the water, and the skin was green, and it looked, like the old hag thing. And she looked at me, and she had no eyes, and all of a sudden, all the air went out of the room, and I don't know if she was trying to kill me or what, but I've started praying and saying some Native American prayers, and I was able to back out of the room and get go back downstairs. And I got Shimon. Shimon said, "What's wrong?" I said, "We need to get out of here." And I got out, and we left. Well, a few days later, it was at nighttime, and Shimon and me were in bed, and all of a sudden, I felt this heaviness on my chest. And I opened my eyes, and this thing had took the form of Shimon, but I knew it wasn't Shimon. I know she was laying right beside me, but I was paralyzed, and this green hag thing was on top of me, and I started, I was frozen, and I started praying, and finally, a monk, looked like a monk, appeared and grabbed this thing and got it out, got it off of me, and it disappeared. Well, a few days later, I called my teacher, the shaman that taught me, and I told him what was going on, and she said, "Well, you're going to have to get rid of it because it's not gone. She said, I can sense it around you." And sure enough, she said, I said, "Well, can you come and help me?" She said, "No, you're going to have to do it yourself." And she told me what I had to do, and I had to do the salt circle, and I had to call it out, and I had to, and this thing, I worked trying to get rid of this thing for days and weeks. And finally, one night I said, I got to do this, or I'm not who I think I'm supposed to be. So I went on ahead and I did the magic circle again, the salt circle, and I brought in the guides, and I did my prayers, and this thing appeared, and I was able to get it into the circle and get out of the circle. It was trapped inside the circle, and I was able to get rid of it. But at that time, James, the way I tried and tried and tried for days and weeks to get rid of this thing, I started to doubt myself, and I went back to my teacher and I said, "What happened?" She said, "Sometimes it takes time to get rid of something like that. You have to really have confidence in yourself and the will to do this stuff and bring in your faith." And that at that one particular time, now that I was attacked that time too, and I was able to get rid of the succubus.
For those of you who don't know, and for those of you, if you're just joining us, I'm talking to my friend Willie Gibson, who is a shaman, and we're going to talk about some of the demonic cases that both he and I have worked. For those of you who don't know, an incubus and succubus, they are demonic entities that will attack you on a sexual nature. So many people have had what's called sleep paralysis episodes. And sleep paralysis does not always necessarily mean it's demonic. So let me make this clear, because we had a neurosurgeon on the show, and he had talked about, this was many years ago, he had talked about what are incubus and succubus, what are sleep paralysis. There's called intermittent sleep paralysis or recurrent isolated sleep paralysis or isolated sleep paralysis. And it's scary. So for 30 seconds or so, you are completely catatonic. You can't move, you can't talk, you can't do anything, and you see this horrible figure. But then eventually, after 30 seconds, it goes away. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that's always demonic, because if it is demonic and you have these sleep paralysis episodes, you're going to have outward manifestations when you are awake. Because if it is truly demonic, then you already have demonic infestation. Demonic infestation, or religious objects are desecrated, the smell of sulfur, rotten flesh, religious objects are thrown, items are thrown, you are the target. There's so many growls are heard. So there are so many outward manifestations that will occur when you have demonic infestation. So if you're just having, and I just say just, because I don't want to simplify it, because it is scary. If you have a sleep paralysis episode, certainly it's frightening, but if you're not having anything else, nothing else, then it's probably a sleep paralysis episode. And that primarily is because in your subconscious, you dream. And what happens is you're startled, you awake, and your consciousness is not fully control of the brain functions, and the subconscious is projecting an image in which you were dreaming. You probably did not remember the dream, and now you see it. You're catatonic. We are catatonic when we sleep because the subconscious takes control of the brain motor functions, because that's how we continue to breathe. So we don't think about it. It just happens. It's natural. So we project this image, and it's scary. And then eventually, when our brain takes full control, our conscious takes full control of the brain functions, then it goes away. So you're going to have other issues in your home if it's demonic. But so an incubus is very violent. Incubus and succubus is very violent. Incubus will suck. They will literally suck the complete life out of you. They will drain everything out of you. And so an incubus will attack women. Succubus attacks men. And this is very ancient. Even from ancient Mesopotamia, we see ancient writings on these demons that are attacking people. And yeah, for 3 years, Willie, for 3 years, I worked with this woman who has suffered from an incubus, and she was like a 68-year-old grandma. She was a wonderful human being. I fell in love with her and her family, and she struggled and struggled. And by the way, with her incubus situation, it didn't happen when she was waking up or going to sleep. It happened even when she was completely wide awake, fully alert. So sleep paralysis always occurs when you're either going to bed or waking up. So when you have those issues, that's sleep paralysis usually episodes, which is natural, scary, but natural. She was having these episodes when she was wide awake. And so for 3 years, I worked with her. And so she would describe them as bed walkers, 3 10-pound bed walkers that would walk towards her body while she was in bed or on the couch and grab her. And then she would feel that manipulation of the body, which I have to be very careful because I don't know who's watching the show. And it was very violent. When I got involved with her, she was in the hospital because she had received trauma in certain areas of her body. And her doctor and her family said, look, we need your help. So 3 years I worked with her, 3, and I couldn't make it go away. And I couldn't make this go away. And it was taking a toll on me. And that was one case. That was the case I actually thought about quitting because I couldn't stop it. And she was begging me, make it stop. And so I went to my mentor, who is a Catholic exorcist. And I've told this story before. I said, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing this. And then finally he said, James, get off the cross. Let Jesus have a try. And that kind of made me mad. But then he said, you're not the Savior. You're not God. You're a human being that God is using. And this person will be delivered in God's time, not yours. And the demon is toying with you. You are the one that it wants. And it's using her to get to you, because it was breaking me down. I was going to quit. It's like it's a chess. Demons will use whatever object it can to get ultimately to the king or queen, to the ultimate queen. That's the goal. That's the goal for checkmate. And it was breaking me down, and it was working. And so I realized then, I said, okay. See, he said, all I hear you say is I. So you're not doing anything. You're an instrument that God is using. That person will be delivered in God's time, not yours. It was a powerful moment. It's a powerful moment. And finally, at the last year of her life, she was no longer being attacked. And she still felt the bed walkers, but it wouldn't attack her. And when she passed of natural causes, I presided at her funeral. So it's a difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing. Willie, I have a couple questions for you here, okay?
Okay.
What signs do you look for as a shaman that you would say, yep, that we're dealing with possession? What signs do you look for?
Well, I do a little investigation work too, with the family, and I just ask the family, what's been going on with this person, as they've been acting differently than they usually do, and usually they tell me what's going on, what type of person they are, and I'll usually sit down with the person and talk to them and say different things to them, like you do when you're checking for possession, and I look their body over and I look them in the eyes, and if I can see something, I can actually see something inside of a person if I really concentrate on it. Shamans do things a little bit different than you do, and of course, we have our ways to do things too, to trick the entity into revealing themselves, which I'm not gonna say, because I know you do the same thing.
Yep.
It's different things like that. But getting back, to what happened to me, people don't realize if a demon will wait until a person is physically and mentally brain before they'll make their move, and usually it's against a person that's really, really, really spiritual and religious. Now, me, I've done so many cases, and I've told James that I've run into different entities that I know that I've run into before. Well, I've had about the last 6 months, a lot of bad luck, I would say. And a lot of it was with shaman, because she got to where she got sick, and I was putting all my energy and thoughts and prayers to her and leaving myself wide open. And things were happening, like she got blood poisoning and she lost a leg. And then she fell the next month and broke her hip, and we're going through that. Now we're going through a liver thing. And I called James up and said, James, I don't know what's going on here. Something don't feel right, because my balance was off. My spiritual balance was off. I felt like I was being drained. The house didn't feel right. So I called James up, and he came over, and, the minute he walked through the house, I think he knew something was up.
Yeah.
Because I told James, I said, James, I think I've got an attachment. I think, it's right on the verge of being a possession. And James, you want to take it from there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't. We don't get paid. For those of you who are asking, we do not get paid for performing exorcisms. We don't charge. Never have. Never will. So I've done 32 exorcisms, but I've never charged one penny. Never will. And Willie and Shaman had gone through so much lately, and but this is what demons will do. Demons will wait. They're they will wait. They're opportunists, And when you are at your lowest, emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever it might be, that's when they will attack. When you're vulnerable, and they will attack whoever they have to get to you, if that is their game plan. And so Willie had contacted me, and I had known that Shimon had gone through a lot, his wife. And so I walked into the house, and it was heavy. There was definitely everything was heavy in it. It just felt oppressed, and I could feel it. And it was in Shimon's face. I could tell she was just overwhelmed. And Willie, they looked tired. They just looked exhausted. And of course, I knew then there was something going on there. And so I did the minor rite of exorcism. And as I was continuing, then for those of you who don't know, the minor rite is reserved where a demonic entity has infested itself within the home. So you bless the home. You don't perform an exorcism on a building. That doesn't exist. You perform an exorcism on the demonic that has infested itself within the home. And so I began blessing the home and forcing provocation so that the entity can manifest in some way, in some form. And as I began the prayers, then I saw Willie, and I knew that Willie was going into dealing with some issues. And I could see it, and I could feel it. It was like, it's like you almost see if you've ever seen a volcano, you feel the emotions, you feel the rumble, you can feel it kind of like it pushes and pushes and pushes, and then you have to address it before it obviously explodes into a full-blown volcano. Then you're in trouble. And so I saw Willie, and I recognized what was going on. And that was my time then to obviously kind of focus rather than continuing, because the entity is manifesting now. And this is why it's very dangerous to do this, because you have to know where you're looking at, what to look for, what to acknowledge, what not to acknowledge. And so it was manifesting through Willie. And Willie, I could see I could feel the incredible animosity, the hatred. I could feel it. And I knew it was directed towards me. And because I could see him kind of rock back and forth when I was doing the prayer and becoming very agitated, incredibly agitated. That's not like Willie. I mean, really to the point where he was about to punch me out, to attack. So that's when I then proceeded with the deliverance to remove the attachment. And Willie, you've talked a little bit about what you experienced. What were your thoughts as far as, in your opinion, the demonic manipulating you? And within TikTok guidelines, so we have to be careful. We can't use the K word. We have to say unalive. But what was when you were going through this attack? What were you thinking? How do you know it was demonic? Obviously, you were conscious. You were fully conscious, but it seemed like you were fighting something there.
Well, for one thing, James, you had give us some religious things before you started, and I was holding a rosary that you had gave me to hold, and I could see in my mind this rosary upside down, and this voice was telling me to attack you and really do you some harm, and I was fighting it because I could hear you talking, but not talking. It's almost like somebody was talking in another room, and I know you were saying words, but I couldn't hear anything but what it was talking to me about. It wanted you hurt. It wanted me to stop you. It wanted me to take that crucifix and wrap it around your throat, and my whole body inside was like ice, and it's like I was looking through fog, and I could see this face laughing, and it had the face of Jesus, and I knew it was Jesus, and it was laughing, saying, take him out, and take that rosary and put it around his throat. And I was fighting that, and all of a sudden, whatever you did, it just, like everything froze, and the face kind of went away. I mean, it just popped, like a pop, and all of a sudden I could feel the energy like coming out of my head. And it was like that. I could not think about anything. It was thinking for me. And finally I broke I guess because the prayers you were doing, I couldn't even hear your prayers.
Mm-hmm.
All I could hear was muffling. It tried to muffle you out to where I couldn't hear you're doing the prayers, and that's where I was coming from, inside out. After that was over, I came to myself and and think I could look around and everything was brighter.
Yeah, and you can, and I could tell that Willie was yeah, I could tell. Yeah, he was aggressive. I mean, clenching his fist and rocking back and forth. And so I knew that, okay, we're in this situation now, so we're gonna finish it. And this is what you have to be careful about, when you're doing this, because a person, especially when you're doing a deliverance, a person can go into the stage of what's called transient possession. Had that occurred, then I would have had to perform the solemn rite of exorcism on the spot, because I can't leave someone on the stage of possession who is a caregiver for his wife who just had her leg amputated. So I knew that this was, but also Willie's I knew that Willie could get through this because Willie is strong spiritually. He may be tired and Shaman may be tired physically, but I knew that he could get through that. That's just something you have to be careful about. And this is why I tell people that when you perform, these rituals, you're dealing with a human being. And Willie, I could tell, Willie, you were, I knew this was so out of character for you. I knew what was going on the moment I began praying. Did you even hear me say the Hail Mary?
I couldn't hear anything. I could hear, it was like you were talking in another room, James. It was like it didn't want me to hear you. And I think had I waited a few more days, I don't think it would have probably been a full-blown mission.
Because it started as soon as I said "In nomine Patri et Filii et Spiritus Sancti." As soon as Latin, of course, as soon as I did, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, bam, and then I went to the Hail Mary. Then I started seeing the agitation, and it's true. One thing that I will say, and again, this is not, I'm not trying to say you got to be this denomination or that denomination, but one thing I've always noticed, especially with demonic possession, is the moment that I bring the rosary out, the moment I begin to pray the rosary, that is the moment when the activity becomes the most violent. Now you take that for what you want. You interpret it however you want. I'm just giving you what I've noticed and what I've seen, and this is one of the reasons why I had him hold on to the rosary. And
it wanted me to take that rosary and wrap it around your neck.
Oh, sure.
And I kept fighting and finally, between whatever you were doing and whatever I was doing, it left. I think, like I said, a little while longer, a few days longer, it would have been a lot worse.
I believe, I think so, because we've known each other for a long, long time. We're good friends, and you had this image of being very violent and doing violence, and so I could tell it was heavy in the house. It was definitely heavy, and I could tell you guys were really tired. But the thing is you guys are you're prayer warriors, you're spiritual warriors, you're fighters. And that's what these cowards do. That's what these demons do. That's what these cockroaches, these parasites do, is they will attack you when you're weak and you're tired, you're exhausted. And that's when they attack, because they're cowards. They really are.
Well, it's like you always taught, James, they do it in their own time. It might take years for them to make their move. And I think that's what happened. It took years to finally say, aha, I can get through him through her. So everything was starting to happen with her. She got blood poisoning. They took her leg. Then the next month, she, after we had the staple of her leg, she fell out of the chair and broke her hip. Now we're going through that, but she's coming through it even stronger, because every day I can feel her getting stronger. But like I said, I've got my barriers up now, and I've done, several times through the house and all that. We're doing a lot better. We're a lot stronger. But it's like you taught, the demons work at their own pace, at their own time. You might provoke them and nothing happened or anything. They'll say, "Aha! I'll just wait. Mm-hmm. My time is coming." It might have took this thing 20 years to make it smooth, but I think that's what happened.
Yeah, and folks, it's called transient possession. Transient possession is when the demonic will enter the body and leave at will. Annalise McKell, the story of Emily Rose, the exorcism of Emily, the movie. She suffered from transient possession. Perfect possession is when the demonic has complete and total possession of the body and there is no relief. So Annalise McKell, there were times that she was possessed and there were times that she was not. Now, she was always under the stage of oppression and obsession, always. That never left. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on after we say goodbye to Willie. But so, Willie, let me ask you this question. And someone's asking, can people filled with the Holy Spirit be possessed? Let me tell Michael, there's a lot of people who say that a Christian cannot be possessed. That is incorrect. That is absolutely 1,000,000% wrong. And I'll tell you why. And here's the deal, folks, this is why we are here. I'm not here trying to sell you anything. I'm not here trying to, I don't charge for my ministry. So there's no ulterior motives here. So I'm not trying to say, oh yeah, you got to give me a call so I can perform an exorcism and charge $5,000, $10,000. I don't get paid for this. I don't get paid as being clergy. I do this 100% free, everything, even clergy. So I'm coming to you and I'm telling you what I've experienced. And I'm telling you that just because you are a Christian, that does not mean that you cannot be possessed. Yes, you can, because you still have free will. So you can still say, I am a Christian. I believe Jesus Christ, my personal Lord and Savior. And then you can still go play with a Ouija board. That's invocation. You can still go to a place that has demonic infestation. Anyone here, can you do something? Can you push me? That's invitation. So there are many things that you can do to call upon the demon to give them permission to attach itself to you. Just because you're a Christian, that doesn't mean that, oh, well, now all of a sudden your free will goes away. You absolutely disagree completely. So now let me ask you, and yes, animals can be possessed. It's very clear in Scripture. Willie, how do you prepare yourself spiritually and even mentally to when you're about to handle like a possession case or a case that's really heavy, that's really dark, that you know there's something bad there? How do you prepare yourself? What do you do? Obviously, we're not going to go into great detail, but what do you do in general guidelines?
Well, before I work a case, James, I always, do a prayer, and I always say to myself, and holy water and all that kind of stuff to prepare myself. What I can't understand, what we're talking about, is somebody going in that's a paranormal investigator saying, hit me, kick me, go inside me. If you're demonic, I want to feel it. No, you don't, because I have felt it. You don't want to feel it. It's just your whole body just turns to ice inside, and whatever this thing is, this just takes over, and you feel helpless until whoever's doing the deliverance, pulls it out of you. Now, like I said, I could hear James talking, but I couldn't understand what he's doing. It was just muffled because this entity or this demon didn't want me to hear the words from the Bible.
That's right.
And I can understand why people say, hit me, kick me, scratch me, and I just look at that as I said, boy, what a fool. If you ever did get that way, and it stays, you don't have a clergy member there to help you out, you're in bad shape.
He is absolutely right. And as far as the muffling, it's true, because if the demons try to keep the word of God away from you so that you cannot hear, so that you can call upon God and guardian angels to help fight, because the demons they don't want you to fight. That's not, they're trying to break you down, tear you down. And so this muffling that he can't really hear, that's very common, especially now Willie obviously was under the stage of oppression, and not only oppression, but also obsession. Oppression when it begins to attack you physically on a variety of ways. And then obsession is when it begins to attack you on an intellectual level. So he began to hear it. It begins to interact with him, telling him to do things with the rosary, to attack me with it. That's obsession. So it's to break the intellect and will down so that possession can take place. And this is how they work. This is what this is how it manifests. And it's very, very, and I always tell people, Willie, and I'll talk about cats. Someone is asking about cats warding off evils. I'll talk about where that came from in a moment. But it's frustrating for me, Willie, and I don't know about you, but it's frustrating for me when people do things and then they put themselves in precarious situations. And then they expect me to just come in and fix all their problems as if I can just, wave a magic wand and then it goes away.
Yeah, it happened to me. It happened to me a bunch of times. But James, I knew something was happening because my whole personality was changing. She saw it. She said, "You're not my Willie. I don't know where you are." I mean, I would cuss at her, and I would cuss around the house, and we were actually seeing things. I mean, we were seeing shadows and things. But when you're in this kind of field, you're used to it. Sometimes, we live next to a cemetery. Things come and go, and I get rid of them. But this one time, I mean, it just I could feel. That's why I called you. I said something ain't right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like myself.
Absolutely, and yes, yeah, Nicole. That's why I was talking about. Nicole was asking, can a demon attack us whenever we're grieving? Yeah, because I shared the story earlier about the young mother who lost her son. He kicked the ball out in the street, and so yeah, absolutely, and that's how they will attack. But here's what I want, guys. Look, I don't want everyone being like, afraid, thinking that everything, no matter what you do, the demon is going to attack. It's like that's not the point. The point is to educate you, to tell you not to do certain things. Don't open yourself up to, don't give yourself the invitation, or anyone the invitation. For example, here's why the Ouija board. Now, Willie, have you had, I know this is a dumb question because the answer obviously, but how many cases have you had where it was demonic because the individual chose to use or play with a Ouija board?
Oh, several. I know 10 or 15. No, I mean, and another thing, practitioners that's supposed to be professionals with Ouija board, I don't care how professional you are, they're opening themselves up for something to come out of there. Because I know quite a few practitioners, and you know them too, that use a Ouija board, and they'll have a circle with a Ouija board and all that kind of stuff, and they don't realize, I don't care if a practitioner you are, you're yourself up.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I've opened up the chat for everybody on TikTok. All I ask is just be kind, because if not, we'll just have to put sub chat back on. So folks, just be kind. Really, seriously, just be kind. Now, if you have any questions that you, Willie, do you have about maybe 10 more minutes? Can you stick around with us so we can ask if the folks have some questions for you?
Sure.
Okay, so folks, if you have some questions that you would like to ask Willie about his own, his ministry, about his gifts and abilities, whatever it is that you have, now is the time to put in the chat room. This is why I've opened up the chat for everybody on TikTok, of course, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRDB Radio. If you guys want to chat, and we're not finished yet, so Willie will be jumping off here. I go until about 8:55 or so, and okay, the AC. I don't know what the AC is. Well, I don't know what that means. How do you know who the AC is? I don't know who that is. Okay. Remote viewing. If you have a specific question, please just make sure you say what's the question. Yes, Betsy, they can. Betsy's asking, can they put unwanted thoughts in your head? Yeah, that's what Willie was talking about. When Willie was under the stage of oppression, he had a rosary. This thing was telling him to do terrible things to me with that rosary. Okay, let's ask this. Here's a question. Willie, you are a psychic medium. That's correct? Yes.
Yeah.
So my question that people are always going to ask, because number one, you're a shaman, and yes, you are a Christian. How do you? Because we all know what people will use the Old Testament, the Leviticus Code, even though they don't follow all 613 laws, but yet they judge people based on the six. It's the most absurd thing in the world. Folks, you cannot use the Leviticus Code to judge an individual and you're not following all 613 laws. It doesn't follow. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to cherry pick one law of the 613 laws, then you must follow all 613 laws. That's how it works. That's how it works. So I'm just throwing that out there for those of you who are going to use the Old Testament to attack psychic and mediums. Let me make this abundantly very clear. I have friends who are psychic mediums, and they are absolutely gifted. I do not believe they are demonic, and Willie Windwalker is one of them. If you do not believe that, that is your right. I disagree with you. So that's it. So how did you know that you had this gift, and how do you square the arguments that, people who are psychic mediums are doing the work of the devil, but yet they don't follow all 613 laws of the Holiness Code? But anyway, so how do you deal with that?
When I was younger, it started happening 10 years old, and a lot of things happened, and there was a UFO experience and all that kind of stuff. And I have actually been escorted. Shaman and I have actually been escorted out of places by the police because our lives were threatened. I am who I am. That's all there is. I'm human. And people say, well, if you're a psychic medium, you must be evil and you must be, the devil, work for the devil. Well, let me tell you something. I just had the devil, attack me now. Does the devil attack itself?
There we go. Hello. Hey, folks, let me ask you, Willie, hold on. So, because I know the story, but for those people who are brand new, who have not heard, Willie is a shaman. He is Native American, as am I. My grandmother was shaman. My grandfather was. They were both Cherokee. I know the story behind what you're talking about, but the police actually had to escort you and your wife, Shaman, from a particular location because of the threats that you were getting from Christians, because they did not like the fact that you are a psychic medium. Can you explain a little bit about what happened, about these loving Christians, and what happened and why you needed a police escort?
Well, it was at an event, and I was asked to set up a table and do readings, and there were other people there doing readings, but for some reason people got, because they saw I was shaman, they really got peeved at me. And they were actually throwing Bibles at me and spitting on me and Shaman. And I was getting, I'm an ex-cop, and I was getting ready, and I was getting ready to square off with these people. And the police was standing around. They come running up, and they're saying, "Sir, you're going to have to shut down because you're going to cause a riot here. We're going to have to let you, escort you to your car." But yeah, I actually had Bibles threw at me and Bible verses, and I mean, these people, you look at these people, you want to talk about evil looking, and these were supposed to be Christians, and they have no idea that I was raised Pentecostal. They have no idea that I was actually ordained a Pentecostal minister. A lot of people don't realize that I am a Pentecostal minister. I have actually got up and preached in church. I had a church one time. I had a spiritualist church where I had Sunday, we had the church opened on Sunday and all that. And people don't realize that. And plus, I'm a shaman. Well, you can't be both. Yeah, you can, because you're working for the same person. You're working for God, the Great Spirit. And people don't realize, shamans are human beings. And as far as the Bible goes, I went through the Bible front and back several times. Go to 1 Corinthians 12 and read it. Go to 1 Corinthians 12 and read it, and you come back and tell me that that's not in the Bible.
Yep. Absolutely. I just think this is the problem, that there are so many people that want to judge and condemn, and I just think it's absurd. I really do. Okay, so let's see. Willie wants, Karina is asking, how do I know if something is demonic versus a dark spirit? I assume you're talking about a bad person that has passed. So the question is, how do I know if something is demonic versus just an evil person? I assume that's what you're referring to, that has passed on. How can they tell the difference?
James, demonic, and you know as well as I do, demonic's totally different. Mm-hmm. I mean, if a place is demonic, or a person's demonic, there, especially a place will you have smells. I've went into places that smells like decomp and sulfur and flies on the walls, and I mean, like Amityville Horror. People don't realize, well, that was just a story. No, I've actually been in a situation where that was going on, and I knew that was demonic. So there's different things the demon will do. It's different from just a nasty person that died.
So yeah, and keep in mind also, when you're dealing with a human spirit, they're not able to manifest enough energy to manipulate, to push an object like with a demonic. A couch can be thrown at you. I mean, something easy. I mean, with ease. And by the way, when you're dealing with a human spirit, this is from my perspective, when you're dealing with a human spirit, that just letting you know that they're there. Sometimes you will smell their cologne, their perfume, something that's in alignment with them. And things might be moved, but it's just not. There's nothing is thrown at you. There's nothing violent. It's just saying, "Hey, look, I'm there." And so, Okay, so let's.
Well, it was that case you sent me on about 15 years ago with Father David in Ohio. We went into this house, and when you walk in, the people were under oppression, and you had weird smells. And another team member of me went upstairs, and we had a chair, table thrown at us, and and we had to wind up doing a minor rites on the house.
Now,
traveling going on.
So Michael is asking a question here on Facebook. Yeah, and this is not my forte, so I really can't answer this question because I really haven't had any cases like this. But Willie might. Well, I'm sure he's had it because he's been doing it for a long, long time. Willie says, Michael's asking, Willie, are Native American elves good nature spirits? He's a half Choctaw and Chickasaw, and from I always consider them, as far as elves, elementals. But we can talk about that. But what's your thought on elves? Do you believe in elves? Are they elementals? What are they exactly?
Well, James, it's just like anything else. You have good elementals and bad elementals. I mean, I have workplaces where I've actually had to go into a forest and make deals with the elementals to make them leave people alone, and I've actually had to put up barriers to keep the entities back. And of course you've got good elementals too. It's just that's just how it is. Even in the paranormal, you have good things and bad things.
Very good. Okay, well, do you have to run? Do you have to head out, or are you good?
I'm good.
Okay, and yeah, and for those people who keep asking about psychics and mediums, again, the chapter that Willie was referring to, again, 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and Paul is very clear. He's very, very clear about spiritual gifts, and he emphasizes that there are different kinds of gifts. The same Spirit distributes them. Oh, there's an echo there. So yeah, that's what it's First Corinthians chapter 12. Okay. Any other questions you guys might have before we wrap things? Oh, it's okay. Bigfoot. Deborah wants, and I believe in Bigfoot. Yes, I do. I believe there's something there. There's too many people who've experienced Bigfoot. The question is, elementals are nature spirits, and we can talk about that later on after we hang out with Willie. But do you believe Bigfoot is an elemental?
I think Bigfoot is a interdimensional creature, and I think it has different energy about it to where it could be standing in front of you and you wouldn't even see it. I think it's interdimensional because they have a tendency to disappear, and they have the tendency to be right there and you don't even see them. So, and I've been asked to go out Bigfoot hunting and all that. So, I mean, over at the West Point, they have a Bigfoot club over there, and they go Bigfoot hunting all the time. And I've been asked to go out and see if I could draw Bigfoot to me. I've got no interest in messing with a creature that if they leave me alone, I'm going to leave them alone, and they should be left alone to go and live in the forest and do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll do a show on Bigfoot again, because I love talking Bigfoot. Now, Andy on TikTok asked a couple times, and that's okay. Just trying to say, hey, he's asking about, and I think asking about mental illness. And is that possession? So let me just say, first of all, just because someone suffers from mental illness, that is not a form of possession. I know there's a lot of you-haws or hoo-haws or he-haws out there who are saying that all mental illness is possession. Clearly, those people have received their degree or education in demonology from a Cracker Jack box. That is simply irresponsible, not correct. And I just find it to be quite really, it's an abomination for any clergy member to go out and say that all mental illness is possession. That is just the most absurd, irresponsible, and unethical thing that a clergy member could say. But
well, James, I had that years ago that you helped me with. That this lady called me and said she was possessed, and could I do an exorcism on her because they took her kid away from her, and they would not let the kid come back because she was acting funny. Well, come to find out, she had been on Adderall and been under psychiatric help and treatment, and she wanted me to do an exorcism on her and tell the people that took her kids that she'd had an exorcism done on her, and she's fine now. But when I went over to her apartment, it was all tore up and things, and she wrote on the walls and things like that. And I called you, and you said, Willie, find out if this woman has had mental problems. And I asked her, are you on any kind of medication for mental problems? And she said, I'm on Adderall, but I'm not on it no more. And you told me to call the hospital and tell them they need to take care of that woman. That's one story that you can say that we work together, and that's what we're talking about now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So can a person be mentally ill and suffer from possession? Certainly, but there's going to be manifestations. And we again, I'll address that in just a second. So, but Willie, I thank you so much for your willingness to jump on and say howdy to everybody and talk about some of your cases. And I'm going to be on for a little bit, guys. So I'm not leaving. I'm just saying goodbye to our buddy Willie. How can everybody contact you, Willie?
I'm on Facebook, Willie Gibson, and they can get me at crystalchief55@AOL.com.
All righty. So, folks, if you want to reach out to Willie, Crystal Chief, CRYSTAL Chief 55@AOL.com. Willie, thanks so much for spending some time with us, and I'll reach out to you and we'll chat a little bit later. So, thank you, Willie.
Okay, thank you, James. I'll be here if you need me.
All right, buddy. You too. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Okay, everybody, that was our friend, Willie Windwalker. We appreciate him having some time and giving us his time and talking about his experience. He's always a cool guy. Willie's a great guy. Really is. He's a class act. He is a class act. Yeah. So we're going to talk. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit. I'll finish up we go until about 8:55 or so. So about another 30 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap up the show. Keep in mind, everybody, I want to remind you guys that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be going live on TikTok for night prayer. If you've never joined us, please do. At 9:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's when we actually go live. At 10 p.m., we have night prayer. Okay, so we'll do that, and we appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, no, so someone was asking earlier about, I think a cat, about cats and protecting us from evil spirits. I think I can't remember who asked that question. So I do know some things about that. I'm a history nerd. Anything history, I'm all about it. I am all about history. Whether it be Billy, whether it be theological or just historically and metaphysical. Well, thank you there, Kelly. The belief that cats can protect humans actually from evil, it has roots in various cultures. There's a lot of myths, a lot of traditions. So let me give you a little bit. So to understand where it came from, if you believe that cats can protect you from evil, I think it's important that you know where it came from. Well, let me just turn this guy off here because we're listening to some relaxing music. So there's ancient Egypt. So in ancient Egyptian culture, cats were revered, and they were often associated by protection. And so the goddess Bastet, who had the head of a lioness or domestic cat, was considered a protective deity, a protective god, and she was seen as a guardian of the home and a shield against evil, even evil spirits and disease. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people that's kind of passed down from generation to generation. Also, in the Middle Ages in Europe, it was very interesting. During the Middle Ages, cats had a mixed reputation. So while they were sometimes linked to witchcraft, which we know obviously through the Salem witch trials, they were considered companions to witches. They were also believed to protect homes from evil spirits and misfortune. So the dual role possibly stemmed from the mysterious nature and the ability as a hunters of vermin. And also, as far as cats protecting us from evil, comes from Slavic folklore. So in Slavic folklore, cats are often featured as like protective creatures, like ancient Egypt. They are sometimes thought to act as guardians against evil spirits that are trying to enter a household. And even in some Slavic folklore traditions, that believe that a cat should be the first living creature to enter a new home to ensure good luck and protection. Pretty interesting, isn't it? And now in Asian cultures, in some Asian cultures, I should say, cats are seen as symbols of good fortune and protection. And there's a cat figure often found in homes and businesses. It's believed to bring good luck, to ward off evil, but it really comes from ancient Egypt. And there's a lot of societies that have developed superstitions around cats, and often based, their characteristics on behaviors and things like this. So that's where it comes from. And well, thank you there, Kitty. But it's interesting history when you learn about it, and you learn about the ancient Egypt and but you can look this up. So if you want to look it up, you can certainly do. It's the goddess Bastet, Bastet, and she was considered a protective deity in ancient Egypt, and this is really where it started as far as the cats protecting you from evil. So there we go. A little nerdy answer, because I'm a nerd. I am a big nerd, I'll admit it. Okay. So let's talk about what are some ways that you can protect yourself, because this is important. Well, hello there, Ireland. Appreciate you guys being here. How is mate? I'm from Ireland. How is it when good people die with cancer? End of the day. Are you asking why do people have cancer? Why do good people have cancer, Christopher? Is that what you're asking? Christopher's asking, mate, I'm from Northern Ireland. How is it when good people die with cancer? End of the day there. So are you asking, I can't bring you guys on. I wish I could bring you on. I can't. The reason is I can't is because I run the show on 2 different computers. And the folks there on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and KGRADB radio, they won't be able to hear you or see you. So I apologize, but I just can't, So if you can you clarify that? Oh, thank you there, Triple D. Are you asking why do good people have cancer? Well, thank you, Priscilla. Because I'll be happy to answer it, but if that's what you're asking. But I need to we got to move on here. So I'll see if I can glance it. But if that's what you're answering, look, Annette Fettuccine, she was one of the Mickey Mouse Musketeers. And she had multiple sclerosis. She had a lot of health issues. She made one of the most profound statements I have ever heard. And it's true. She said, the moment you become conceived, the moment you are conceived is the moment you become terminal. And that is profound. Because someone asked her about it, how are you dealing with it? How are you angry with it? You have all these health issues. Because, she used to be a dancer, singer. And she says, no, the moment you're conceived is the moment you become terminal. And yes, Irma, I believe so. So, but that's true. We are not. That's when people say to you, you're not guaranteed tomorrow. That's not just cliche. That's really true. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Not one of us. Not one of us. I cannot tell you guys how many times when I go perform the blessing, or when I do the any type of blessing or last rites, especially the last rites, I can't tell you how many times people have told me, if I just had more time. I can't. If I had a nickel every time someone told me that. But seriously, I'm being serious. People always say, if I just had more time. I'm in my 50s. In my 50s. It's like, how did that happen? It just goes like that, just so fast, so fast. Do you believe for those who believe no proof is necessary? Yep, absolutely, Kat. Absolutely. Yep. So, Roxy, here's the deal with reincarnation. I have a problem. Do I believe that it's a possibility? I would say I'm open to it. But here's the issue with it, right? This is just from a logical perspective only. My goal in this world is to get to heaven. That is my goal. That's my goal. That's what I want, right? That's what I want to do. That's the ultimate goal, because in heaven you don't have to worry about death and sadness and sickness and sorrow. So I'm ready that's the goal. And then when you pass on and the gates are open and they say, come on in. And then you say, you know what? I would really like to go there, but I'm going to go try this all again. I'm going to go try sickness and sadness and sorrow and losing loved ones and worrying about money, worrying about this, worrying about that. Yeah, I'm going to go back and do it all over again because it was so fun the first time. Maybe that person had a great life and they want to do it again because it was so wonderful. Okay. But for somebody who has struggled, for somebody who has lost family and who's grieved, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. And people say, well, it's because it's not about that. It's about learning your mistakes that you've made previously. Okay, here's the problem with that logic. I don't know what mistakes I made in my previous life, so that I'm doomed to repeat them again. You see, that's the problem. Well, you can have, past life regression. That's not a guarantee. That's not a guarantee. So anybody can easily put false impressions into your thoughts. A person who does these, you have to be very careful with that. Very careful. So, I just if I don't know what mistakes I made in my previous life, and the whole goal is not to make them again, well, that's a problem. So, that's my problem. That's my issue with them. I've never been to the Amityville house. I've never been to the Amityville house, but I did do the Exorcist house. So Janine, now, as a matter of fact, I was at the Exorcism Live on the Travel Channel in 2015. I got so much hate. For that show. I mean, my God, it was just overwhelming, the amount of hate. There was a lot of Roman Catholic priests that were really vicious. One person I even went to the seminary with. I used to respect him, but I mean, he was vicious. I mean, vicious with his attacks on me. I'm like, dude. And it's like, if you knew the story behind it, you wouldn't be. First of all, you're clergy. You shouldn't be attacking anybody. That's number one. But here's what happened. Travel Channel contacted me in 2015 and said, there's a family that lives in the St. Louis house that the Exorcist took place in, the real actual case. And we want you to go and perform a blessing in that home. Would you be willing to do this? I said, well, of course, that's what I do. Absolutely. So I went to the house. We'll talk about the experience, what happened there. But the backstory is this, and this is what people didn't know because they didn't want it to, they didn't, of course, now I can talk about it. The wife was pregnant. She did not want to bring a child into that home, knowing the history of that house. This is why they wanted me to come in and perform the minor rite of exorcism. So the Travel Channel, they advertise it for Exorcism Live. And of course, I understand, that I guess people thought I was performing an exorcism on a person. I've done this for over 2 decades. Not one time will you ever see a video, never, of me performing an exorcism on a person. You'll never see it on social media, ever. And I have them. I do record them, but I also record them because for legal reasons, if the person passes away, I need to have, obviously, the proof that we did everything we could. So you have to do it. But I will never, ever, never, and I have been offered a decent amount of money for these videos. And go away. Don't bother me. Get behind me, Satan. And so I have these videos. I would never, under any circumstances, never would I ever perform an exorcism on a human being on camera and then let it air live. Why not, Bishop Long? Because it's not entertainment. It's not entertainment. This is a person who has gone through extreme trauma. They've gone extreme physical, emotional, psychological trauma. They are under the stage of possession where the demon is ripping the fingernails off. They are ripping their hair out. They're scratching themselves. They're trying to gouge their eyes out. And you think that is entertainment. This is not something you do. You don't put it on camera for entertainment. I don't give a damn about likes or be going viral. I don't care about any of that stuff. because I want to get to heaven. And if I did that, I would absolutely be selling my soul to the devil. 100%. I believe with all my heart that if I did that, I would be telling God, I want nothing to do with you. And I would be 1,000,000%. And let me tell you, if I did do that, I guarantee you today, right now, today, I could have a television show right now, $20,000 guaranteed an episode. Guaranteed. Matter of fact, I was offered one when I was at, I think it was in Illinois. I was doing a paranormal conference and I was talking about demonology and the dangers of investigating things of this nature. And someone called me and I recognized the number. And they had been calling me for a bit about performing an exorcism on camera. So I said, you know what? I've had enough of this. So I put them on speakerphone. This was a room full of people in Illinois. I put them on speakerphone. I said, hello, this is Bishop Long. And they said, hello, this is blah, blah, blah from this network. It wasn't a travel channel, by the way. And I said, okay, yep. How can I help you? Well, we're doing this thing and we're doing this show and we want you to be it. It's just going to spotlight you. It's going to make you look good and all this, fluff stuff. And I said, okay, what's the premise of because I already knew what they were going to do. What's the premise of the show? All you have to do is go to someone's home, perform exorcisms, we'll record everything. You don't have to do anything, nothing at all. We'll record it all. We guarantee you it's like $20,000 at $20,000 for an episode. And I think it was like 10 episodes of 10. And this was already greenlit. Greenlit means it's already been approved. So 20,000 an episode, we guarantee 10 episodes with a season 2. Now, that would have been a substantial amount of money. And 20,000 episode, 10 episodes, $200,000. And of course, then in season 2, they said, oh, yeah. And then in season 2, we put you as a producer. So that's going to increase the amount of money that I make per episode. That's how it works. I said, okay, so then all I need to do is perform an exorcism on someone on camera. You film it. We air it on television, guaranteed 10 episodes, 20,000 an episode, with it also guaranteed of a season 2, and I'll have producer as tagged and of course make more money. Absolutely, Bishop Long, we're ready to go. It's been greenlit. We're ready to go. We can send you over the contract. So I tell you what I want you to do. I want you, when you hang this phone up with me, I want you to go to the nearest church and I want you to kneel down and I want you to beg God for forgiveness for what you have just done. And I don't want you ever to call this number again. I hung up. And this was, a whole room of people saw this in Illinois. And they looked at me like I had 3 different heads. They couldn't understand it. And then I simply said this. Let me ask you this question. Thank you. I said, let me ask you this question. How would you feel if some clergy member came into your home and you just saw your family member deteriorate in front of you and there's nothing you could do? You see their physical deterioration, their mental deterioration. You see them deteriorate. Then you see possession start taking place and you can't stop it. And then a priest comes in. I'm here to save the day. I'm Bishop Long. I'm holy. Look out. So I will fix everything. And I just made $20,000 on your loved one's suffering, put it all over social media, all over the network. I walk away with $20,000. And now your loved one, if your loved one is delivered, which I don't think that would happen because then the rite itself now is tainted. It's no longer pure. So now if the exorcism was successful, then your loved one would flip on the channel and there's your loved one doing terrible things. They have no memory of this. And this con man came in and made $20,000 off your loved one, and now they have to relive this. What would that do to your faith? And then you wonder why I said no. It's not entertainment, and anybody who does this for entertainment does not have my respect at all, under any circumstances. So that's why I will never. You'll never ever see any of my exercises. I've done 32, and some of them were pretty rough. Some of them were pretty rough. So I would never want a clergy member to do that to my family member. Never, never. I would not. That would destroy my faith. It would certainly would shatter my faith, believing this person was a person of God and they came in, and now my loved one has to see themselves all over the television and social media. I mean, can you imagine that? No, we don't do that. If you get but what if you get that okay from the person in the family? Nope. SPX is saying, what if you get permission from the family to air it live or air it on? No, I can't. I don't. So even if the family says, I want you to do this, I will tell them no. And the reason being is because I'm a human being. I've taken a vow of poverty. I'm a Benedictine. I live my life very simply. For those of you, look at that beautiful fancy ring. It's $46. You can buy it on Etsy. I've talked about this before many, many times. People saying, well, you live there. It's a beautiful ring. I thought it's a beautiful ring, but you can buy it's $42 now on Etsy. Well, look at that gold chain. It's $3 at Walmart. It's not a gold chain. So I've made a vow of poverty. I've also taken a vow of celibacy. I don't have to be celibate. With our church community, we can get married if should we wish. But I've taken a vow of celibacy. And primarily because I don't want to bring someone into my life and then marry them, because I know exactly what would happen. Then I would put myself in a situation and them in a situation where they could fall under demonic attack to get to me. And so I live a celibate life, because also I'm called to live a celibate life as well. I think there are people that can be mentally ill. So let me ask you a question. Couldn't you have staged The Exorcist? No, because this is not entertainment. Now, by the way, so what we did, okay, here's a question. So I was on a television show called Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists. And so what we did is the show was fun. I love the show. And we don't know anything yet officially about the second season. I did the first season. It's on hiatus right now. So we just don't know. I mean, it could always happen season 2. We just don't know. But it's called Legion of Exorcists. Eli Roth Presents Legion of Exorcists is on HBO Max and Travel Channel. So there was a group of us from different denominations, exorcists, who talked about our cases, and the Travel Channel hired actors. And they then did this recreation of these cases that we worked. And so they did that. I no issue with that. I'm just not going to put someone else on there. Let me just add, or an actual person. So let me just say, someone was asking, how do you know if it's mental illness versus possession? Because with a person who is mentally ill, they do not have the ability of what's called retrocognition or prognostication. So retrocognition, thank you. Retrocognition is the ability to know your sins. Demons cannot read your mind. Demons know your sins because sins fall under what is called ordinary demonic activity. Ordinary demonic activity is when when the demons tempt you to sin and then you sin. That's why they know your sins. That's why in exorcists, we always have the sacrament of reconciliation, confession, prior to performing an exorcism, so that they cannot use that against us. And then the prognostication is the ability to tell the future, and also levitation. So a person who is mentally ill does not have those abilities. The person who is mentally ill cannot levitate. A person who's mentally ill cannot tell you your previous sins or the future. So they can't do that. So that's and also, if like one time I said, I started the Aramaic and Abu Lemashmaya Makata Shamuk, and that's our Father. That's the beginning of the Our Father in Aramaic. And the demonic said it. A person said it under the stage of possession. Said the Our Father backwards in Aramaic as a form of mockery. Well, that's not mental illness. Plus, there's other ways that we know. So hopefully that answers your questions. But for those of you who are on Spreaker, I'm going to say goodnight to you guys. Isn't it crazy? It's already gone so fast. It's too fast. It's too fast. Folks, I'm going to remind all of you that I'll stay with TikTok for just a little bit longer. But remember, tomorrow we're here at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our open mic night. I didn't get to any of my paranormal articles that I usually do, and I'll get that tomorrow. So at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Miss Wilma and Judy Ann, they jump on the air with me. We have a good time. We goof off, tell jokes. We put a smile on your face, and then I answer all your demonology questions, your paranormal questions. That's 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. Okay, well, Tim, I appreciate you being a jerk, but let me just block you. Bye-bye. All right. Sorry, I just had a... there's always somebody who has to be nasty, always. Bye-bye, Tim. So we'll be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, my friends, I tell you all the time, there we go, Maria. I always tell you, like Tim said, you're not a real priest. Yeah, that's why I have mass every single day. That's why I have night prayer every single night. I don't ever see you at night prayer Bible study. Okay, remember, your value does not decrease based on some troll's inability or refusal to see your worth. Remember, friends, you're priceless, and don't let any troll tell you or convince you otherwise. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, KGRADB Radio, and Rumble. Good night.
The Sacred Division has been brought to you by Bishop Long's online paranormal course. Learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy. It's 100% online, and you learn at your own pace. Please go to www.bishopjameslong.com and click on the paranormal course link.